على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، نحمده ونشكره على هدايته، ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين المنتجبين المعصومين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I start, since yesterday was the 15th of Ramadan, the anniversary of the birth of Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam, our second Imam, I would like to take the opportunity and offer my heartfelt congratulations for this blessed occasion, inshallah, and pray that during this month, whatever is left of it, another 14 days or 13 days, may Allah accept your prayers, fasting, and supplications and du'as, inshallah, as we get closer and closer to Layad al-Qadr. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: الحسن والحسين سيدا شباب أهل الجنة. Hassan and Hussein are the lords of the youth of heaven. This hadith, plus many other ahadith that we have, narrated by both schools in various sahih as well as our own traditional books of hadith, are narrated by both schools of thoughts, Shia muhaddithin as well as Sunni muhaddithin. We are going to spend few minutes or whatever time we have focusing on Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wassalam and part of his character and characteristics. No discussion about the life of Imam will be possible without addressing some historical facts. But before I do so, I believe it's important for us to understand how Shias are being presented in various researches that are being done here. Unfortunately, the study of Shiism has been one of the most neglected branches of Islamic studies in the West, particularly Shia, the A'imma and the life of our Imams, and particularly the early 200 years of the history of Imamah from the beginning after the demise of the Holy Prophet. Even when there are few articles that we see available in various books or encyclopedias, they would not address critically the legacy of Ahlul Bayt, our Imams, so that the new generations will be able to understand them. Unfortunately, not only they don't pay attention to them, what being presented is extremely inaccurate, and they are sources of distorted images of Ahlul Bayt. Just for an example about the life of Imam Hassan salawatullah wasalam alayhi, I printed an article from Encyclopedia Iranica, which is something that most scholars these days use them as part of reference for Shia studies. And if you look at the article about Imam Hassan, the image that gives you is a son that was in constant tension and conflict with his dad, with Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wasalam. Even to the degree of disobeying Amir al-Mu'mineen, refusing to follow his commands, and Amir al-Mu'mineen having to chastise him, etc., etc. And I read, with regard to Uthman, under Uthman, Hassan is said to have refused to comply with his father's suggestion that he apply legal punishment of 40 lashes for drunken of the Khalif's cousin. And even Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah sallam, Ali chided him, and his nephew Abdullah ibn Ja'far was the one that came in to apply this punishment, but Hassan would not do it. They tried to present an image of a peaceful an individual that did not like violence, but this is not the image of Ahlul Bayt. This is not the image of Imam that we have when we understand it. Now imagine what will happen when our children go to school or go to university and they are told to go and write something about Islam, and they have access to this kind of sources. Even now, what we call the artificial intelligence, that there are people suddenly, everybody's asking them to write article about various things. You just type in what you want once you become a member of it, and it gives you an article. They use this kind of information. You go and ask about Imam Hassan. The political dimension of Imam Hassan is nothing but this kind of thing. So we have fundamental problem here, and it is, I believe, our responsibility. We can't just ask other people to present Ahlul Bayt if we, the Shias, are not prepared to pay attention to the life of our Imams from the beginning and read and study and document them. Let us start by a little bit of history or biography. Imam Hassan salawatullah wasalam alayhi was the eldest grandson of the Prophet Muhammad through his only child that was left, and Fatima al-Zahra and Amir al-Mu'mineen. According to tradition, he was born on the year 3rd of Hijrah, 15th of Ramadan, 3rd of Hijrah. And he was brought up within the first 7 years of his life under the auspices of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet, from the moment, if you look at films that have been made about the life of Imam Hassan, you see it from the moment that the Holy Prophet picks up the child and names the child according to the divine instruction, alaykum salam. Divine instruction until the end of the Holy Prophet's life, the Holy Prophet's life, that during the 7 years he was the one that looked after at least 2 grandsons, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. During this period, the Holy Prophet did not conceal his love and attention for his grandsons. This is again narrated by both Sunni muhaddithin as well as Shia muhaddithin, that the Holy Prophet would carry his children, his grandchildren, on his shoulder as he walked on various places, and seat them on his knees whenever he sat in the mosque trying to talk to people. Also allowing them to climb on his back when he was in sujda, and prolonging the sujda and prostration until they came down. So these are clearly defined, these documented historical documents about the life and the love of the Holy Prophet for Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. There are other ahadith narrated from the Holy Prophet, Al-Hassan wal-Hussein, Imaman, Qama or Qa'ada. Both of them are Imams, whether they rise against a political order or established order or they don't. What this hadith is trying to establish, that the imamah of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein is not conditional to how they react or what people are expected to react from vis-a-vis the political circumstance. It is unfortunate that now we have a group of people that call themselves Shias, whether the Shia Ismailis or others, that they become selective as to who it becomes an imam and who is not becoming an imam. And they impose a particular criteria that anyone that rises up against the established political order, then we will accept him as an imam. And hence, since Imam Hassan did not rise, he is marginalized. So, ahadith, there are plenty regarding the life of Imam Hassan. There are some books we have about hadith from the Holy Prophet. If you go to internet and simply type in a hadith from the Holy Prophet about Imam Hassan or Imam Hussein, the list comes out. Now, with regard to his life, it has become a unique tradition that whenever we want to celebrate or commemorate the anniversary of death of one of the imams, we really focus on anecdotal, what we call biographical fact about a particular imam. So we start within Imam Hassan. 7 years of his life was spent under the auspices of the Holy Prophet. After the Holy Prophet, he saw the death or the martyrdom of his mother, marginalization of his father. And after that, during the life of Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman, that Amir al-Mu'mineen was somehow stayed away from political activity. He stayed with his father. Suddenly, Imam Hassan appears or reappears when Amir al-Mu'mineen becomes Khalif in year 35 after Hijrah. Then immediately after the demise and Shahada of Amir al-Mu'mineen, for 6 months he becomes the Imam, and after that Sulh ma'al Muawiyah, the peace treaty with Muawiyah, and he goes back to Medina, stays there until he is martyred and poisoned by his wife. That's it. Very brief biographical events, the history of Ahlul Bayt. Doesn't give much information about, well, we accept that at the end of the life of the Holy Prophet, Imam Hassan was 7 years old. By the end of the life, by the end of Khilafah of Abu Bakr, he became 9. And by the end of Khilafah of Umar, he became 19. Now, from 9 to 19, 10 years of mature adolescence, what did he do? There are one instances or twice regarding confrontation between him and Umar when he walks into the mosque and he sees Umar on the pulpit of the Holy Prophet or the member. He stands up and says, "Come down, this is not your member. This is my grandfather's member. Go and find your own member." This kind of ahadith are narrated, but serious confrontation with these people who have usurped the power, we don't see it in general ahadith. We need to step a little bit back and look at what happened after the demise of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet, for Imam Hassan at least, after the Holy Prophet, the transition from the honor, dignity that existed during the life of the Holy Prophet to total marginalization after, it was something, call it shocking or unacceptable, where you are the center of attention with your brother and grandfather, and suddenly you have the entire community leaving your father that was central. His role was pivotal for the success of Islam. If you look at a hadith from the Holy Prophet that says, if it wasn't for the sword of Ali and the wealth of Khadija, Islam would not have developed the way it did. So the role of Ali was pivotal in the development of Islam. And so suddenly we see Ali being marginalized and left. It becomes problematic. Within a month or two, according to various hadith, within a month or two, he loses his mother in the way he did. And the event that happened in Saqifa and the breaking of Zahra's ribs, etc., etc. So these are events that ultimately has some kind of effect on the child's mind. No matter what happened as far as the transition from Abu Bakr to Umar to Uthman, we have ample proof to indicate that Imam Hassan stayed active in the social domain of the society. Even we have a few ahadith that says he participated in one or two battles in the northern Iran towards Afghanistan, Tabaristan area, and so on. The authenticity of it, but this is history they talk about. The major event, first comes the assassination of Omar, and then the assassination particularly of the uprising and the revolt against Uthman, because Uthman was extremely supportive of his clan and unjust, tyrannizing the community, spending the money from wherever for his own family without giving it to people. The social and racist fabrication that was changed within the society that started from Omar, and Uthman continued with it. And unfortunately, this is something that led to the war when Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salamu alayhi came to power, because the aristocracy that had access to all the wealth during the life of Uthman suddenly found it very difficult to accept absolute justice of Ali, that even one candle he would not lit from Baytul Mal if people like Talha and Zubair, they have come to discuss their own personal affairs. He told them, wait, I will turn the candle off, and I have a candle from my own pocket that I can use it, because what you are going to say is nothing to do with the affairs of the Muslim, so I'm not allowed to burn a candle from Baytul Mal to discuss your own private issues. They understood that there is a 180-degree difference between Uthman's generosity to them because they were a member of his clan, and Amir al-Mu'mineen that now says that I'm going to make sure every single penny that has been spent in the past on an unjust basis to be returned to Baytul Mal. Even in one of his sermons says that even if that money was taken and they used to marry other women, I would annul the marriage and I'll take the money back. This kind of absolute justice of Ali became intolerable for them. Everybody ran away, and they tried to establish their own bases and ultimately rise to challenge Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi. So here, what we have, there is another issue that we really need, alaykum salam. We need another issue that we need to pay attention to. And this was something that I believe I discussed briefly. Briefly when we were talking about the life of Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha, and the martyrdom of Fatima al-Zahra many months ago. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam died while leaving three institutions working together. I'm using this as a segue so that ultimately we go to the political issue and to the spiritual issue that we wanted to discuss. There was an ummah, a group of people that they had faith in the message that he brought. There was a social institution that claimed to follow the guidelines of Ahlul Bayt, or at least the Holy Prophet. And also, there was a political institution that he was in charge. And he hoped that by installing or appointing Ali alayhi salatu wasalam in the issue of Ghadir Khum, smooth transition will be from him into an ideal person that would lead the society and guide the other two, the Ummah and the social institution, in a proper way. Unfortunately, Saqifa at least violated the political issue to begin with. Because people at that time were politically not mature, alaykum salam, immature, they couldn't see the effect of the consequence of removing political institution, political leadership from the hand of the ideal individual into the hand of corrupt middle clan individuals that came to dominate. And this was something that both Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima al-Zahra saw it. If you look at Khutbat Fadakiyya, for example, that Fatima al-Zahra delivered in Masjid al-Nabi, she predicted the doomsday for the Muslim community because of what they had done. And immediately, at the end of Abu Bakr, beginning of Umar, once the clan mindset and racially approach to Muslims, Arabs are separated from non-Arabs. Those who are in Medina are separated from those who are outside Medina. And when it comes to providing money and giving them from Baytul Mal, all of these kind of things, Ahlul Bayt was what Aisha and people like Aisha were given more than other people. From this kind of behavior is totally different, and this caused huge amount of problem. That they saw, Fatima al-Zahra saw that the appointment or selection of individuals outside the framework that the Holy Prophet has already commanded ultimately is going to fracture. It may not be immediate, but certainly within a medium to long term. And that's exactly what happened. We have now Uthman as a third Khalif. The entire Muslim world rising up against the third Khalif for his injustice and tyranny. And Uthman is not prepared to change. During this period, contrary to this article about Encyclopedia Iranica that says that he did not follow the command of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Amir al-Mu'mineen ordered his sons, Hassan and Hussein, both of them, during the house arrest of Uthman, house arrest of Uthman, to constantly take food and sustenance for him, because those who are participated within the uprising, they would not allow, barricaded the house, they would not allow anything to go in. So Amir al-Mu'mineen sends his sons to go in and provide, and he would go in to talk to Uthman, to remind him that the situation is dire, and he does not want, these are hadith, he did not want the issue of assassinating Khalif and leaders to become a norm. Omar has already been assassinated. Now if Uthman is assassinated, it becomes a norm as soon as a group of people, as it happened with the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen himself. Group of people finding out that we don't like this person, we go and assassinate. So here, Amir al-Mu'mineen himself went to Uthman to advise him, and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein went there to discuss the situation with him and take sustenance and food to him. But he absolutely refused to budge. Ultimately, the uprising, they stormed into the house and he was killed. So the next thing we have is Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah salam alayhi. when the Holy Prophet appointed these he was in charge of the political leader. Ahlul Bayt, the first policy that they had was to see if they can use any political mean to reclaim and retake the political leadership that was under the life of the Holy Prophet. Amir al-Mu'mineen tried. Immediately the clan mindset that benefited under Uthman, organized first of all by Aisha, organizing Jamal. Nearly 45,000 people, innocent lives were killed. I don't know how she's going to answer it on the Day of Judgment. And after that, finally, when the Battle of Jamal was over and Aisha was sent to Medina, Muawiyah started, claiming that Ali is to be blamed for the assassination of Uthman. Although, if Muawiyah wanted, it was better for Muawiyah Uthman dead than Uthman alive. If Muawiyah wanted, he could have brought an army from Sham and totally dealt with the revolutionaries. He waited until he was assassinated, then cried that I am from the same tribe and I need to take revenge. So the whole issue of Safin came in. And after Safin, Khawarij, simple-minded individuals that had no depth in understanding religion, in the Battle of Nahrawan. Literally 5 years of Khilafah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, all of it from one battle to another, one war to another, hardly giving him a chance to be able to establish the proper political structure that the Holy Prophet wanted him to develop. 6 months after the demise and the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen, naturally with the appointment or bay'ah of people in Kufa, Imam Hassan became the Khalif. The imamah is for sure for them. But people would not follow. No matter how many, for 6 months he kept telling people of Kufa that we really need, the source of all the problem is Muawiyah, we need to go and finish him off. They wouldn't do it, they wouldn't listen to it. It got to the stage where his cousins would get bribed by Muawiyah and leave Imam Hassan, or somebody, an army leader comes and stabs him. That Imam, according to our ahadith, during those turbulent days, could not go anywhere without an armored clothing so that people would not assassinate him. Now, once Imam realized that any attempt for direct attack on the parallel political leader is not going to be useful, because we don't have the political support, the popular support. Had no other alternative but to accept the peace treaty with Muawiyah and depart from the scene, go to Medina and become just under the responsibility of imamah and the spiritual leadership. Now the spiritual leadership comes in. Imam Hussein tried once more. Rather than direct attack against the hierarchy, he thought that with enough members and enough signature, he could focus on the ummah, encourage the ummah to rise against the political order and change it. That attempt failed in Karbala, and from then on, Ahlul Bayt realized that their main responsibility is to focus on education, enlightenment, and spiritual guidance of the society. We see this in the life of Imam Sajjad salawatullah salam alayhi. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir uses the relaxed political atmosphere to be able to develop an academic or scientific school, and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq develops it even further. But none of them are prepared. Even when Zayd ibn Ali, the founder of the Zaydiyya in Yemen, when he started uprising against Bani al-Abbas, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir would not, yes, gives them moral support, but would not participate in any, because deep down, what they needed as a base for being able to challenge does not exist. Somebody comes to Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq salawatullah salam alayhi from Khurasan and says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, why don't you rise up against Bani al-Abbas? You have 100,000 people waiting for your command in Khurasan. He said, 100,000 for my command, so whatever I say they would do. He said, yes. Are you one of them? Yes. So I command you to open the cover of Tanur and go inside the Tanur. He said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, my body is flesh and Tanur is full of fire. I'm going to burn. Imam responded, don't you think I understand that what you're talking about? But I'm telling you, if you follow my command, go inside. He started moving, no, I can't do that, etc. One of the disciples of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq walks into the house, Zurara. Imam tells him, Ya Zurara, adkhul al-Tanur. Without any question, removed the cover, went inside. Another 5 minutes, Ya Zurara, akhruj. Came out, little bit dusty, but he's intact. Then Imam goes back to him. He said, how many of the 100,000 that you have in Khurasan are like him? We need people like him, enough numbers to follow the command. And that's why we're still waiting for 313 or 330 individuals to follow the command, absolute command of our hidden Imam. He said, none, Ya Rasulullah, Ya ibn Rasulullah. None of them, the one that we have, are like this one. So political order, attempt to change political establishment by Ahlul Bayt, by the failure of Karbala, it became clear that there is no hope. The only way they could do it through spirituality, through enlightenment, education, etc., etc. So literally, the Ummah was put on a survival mode only until the time comes. When Imam Hassan goes to Medina, focuses on a number of issues that are encouraging Muslims, individual Muslims, to deal with it themselves on a personal level, on the spirituality, and both on a social level. On a social level, Imam says, Imam encouraged ethical and moral lifestyle. You can't claim that I'm following Ahlul Bayt if your lifestyle is in opposite way to the lifestyle of Ahlul Bayt. Seeking knowledge. Shia by default must be educated, but the right education. Standing up to injustice and standing up for the right of the oppressed and the marginalized. Don't just ignore it. Understanding and comprehending Quran. He started teaching Quran exegesis and tafsir. We normally, these days, we don't have hardly anyone spends time understanding the language of Quran, understanding the meaning of Quran, and etc. On a personal level, underscoring patience, tolerance, and forgiveness within the society. Charity, generosity for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Support and assistance for the poor, the needy, and the widows and the orphans. This is something that all Imams used to do. Whether it was from Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is a hadith that says it was only after the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen that the poor and the needy of Kufa found out who was bringing them food late at night. Imam Hassan did it. He spent many times giving everything that he had for the sake of Allah to the poor and the needy. Imam Hussein did it, Imam Zain al-Abidin did it, and the rest of them. Taqwa and piety, since this is the month of Ramadan, God consciousness and piety is a critical issue. Getting rid of our vices and accept our gaining positive attributes. Family values and treating each other with respect within the family. We can't go out and talk to other people about justice when we don't apply justice within our own family. So when we talk about the life of Imam Hassan, it's various component. It depends on the force of circumstance that they have confronted in their life. We need really to learn from the life of Imam Hassan on all our Imams, because it is critical that as Shias, otherwise our children will have nothing but those fabricated ahadith in academic papers that they have to deal with. I should stop here because we're getting close to iftar, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of us for our shortcoming during this month. May Allah help us to educate ourselves and use this month to benefit from it spiritually, as well as politically, and cleanse ourselves from all the vices and gain positive attributes, so that we will not be one of those that the Holy Prophet said that the cursed or the wretched person would be the one that comes after the month of Ramadan and gains nothing spiritually beyond just staying away from food and drink. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.